And here's where things get interesting. The conversation wasn't even about whether the insight had value. Instead, it became a roast of Jobs himself. People fixated on his flaws, his abrasive style, and the mythos surrounding him. Like we're judging him for a reality TV episode he wasn't even in. And you know, the real tragedy is that this happens all the time.
I'm Stephen Belenke, a coach to leaders, a facilitator to executive teams. And this is Spare Me, a short, sharp dive into the heart of human dynamics for anyone who's ever asked themselves, what's actually steering the ship here? And by ship, I mean you, your habits, your reactions, and your choices when the water beneath you gets choppy. I'll try to cut through the noise, poke at some blind spots, maybe even make you laugh along the way. Because leading teams and companies is serious business, but it doesn't have to feel that way. So buckle up, 10 minutes or less, and I'll leave you thinking, why didn't anyone say it like that before? At the very least, I'll spare you the fluff, because you've got real work to do.
We're talking here about something I see all the time. How we let our opinions about people stop us from hearing good ideas. And honestly, if you've ever dismissed a message because, that guy said it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Here's a setup. I recently saw a post about Steve Jobs. You know, the one where he talks about how true innovators are both thinkers and doers? Now, I thought at the time, that's a great point. Let's chew on that for a bit. But then I made the mistake of reading the comments. And what do I see? A sea of skepticism, dismissing the message outright because guess what? Steve Jobs wasn't exactly a warm, fuzzy teddy bear. And here's where things get interesting. The conversation wasn't even about whether the insight had value. Instead, it became a roast of Jobs himself. People fixated on his flaws, his abrasive style, and the mythos surrounding him. Like we're judging him for a reality TV episode he wasn't even in. And you know, the real tragedy is that this happens all the time. Now, so as not to contradict previous points I've made and lose my listeners' trust, I'll say I get it. Leadership isn't about titles or positions. It's about trust. And once someone breaks that trust, it's perfectly valid to say, I don't care how good their idea is, I'm not listening. That's a boundary, not a flaw. If the messenger is someone who's crossed a line, dismissed your values, or made it impossible for you to respect them, tuning them out is a healthy response. It's a valid response. But here's where it gets tricky and interesting. Two things can be true at once. You can have a terrible messenger and a great message. And when that happens, you have a choice to make. Do you throw the message out with the person who delivered it? Or do you separate the idea from the individual and extract whatever value might still be in there? Both options are valid. It just depends on what serves you and your team best in the moment. The trick is knowing when to lean into the message, even if the messenger leaves a lot to be desired. And let's be honest, being human is a messy gig. Nobody's perfect. If every great idea were dependent on the person who said it being flawless, we'd still be living in caves, arguing over whose stick makes a better spear. The truth is, leadership demands we do the hard work of listening to ideas that don't come packaged exactly how we'd like. Sometimes from the people we don't even like. Look, I get it. It's fun to reject an idea with a, yeah, but that guy's a jerk. It's a power move. It makes you feel clever. But it's also a trap. Because when you judge ideas based on the person, you shrink the pool of possibilities. You surround yourself with the voices you already agree with, and you miss out on new ways to grow. As a leader, that's risky business. You can't afford to play it safe by dismissing insights just because they don't come from your dream dinner guest list. If you want to lead others effectively, you have to separate the message from the messenger. Otherwise, you'll create a culture where people either clam up or just tell you what you want to hear. And neither of those ends well. Trust me, I've seen enough poorly led meetings to know. So, how do you get out of this mindset? It's simple, but not easy. I mean, it's kind of like yoga, which is just stretching, right? But somehow I always feel like I've been hit by a truck after trying it. There are a few strategies you can try. Here's one, and it's crazy. Pause before reacting. When you feel that little voice saying, well, I don't like this person, take a breath. Ask yourself, am I reacting to the idea or just the fact that Steve Jobs or whoever said it? If you can't tell, you probably need a minute to think over. Here's another one. Engage with curiosity, not judgment. Treat every idea like a weird gift from an eccentric relative. It might be awkward, but there could be something valuable hidden inside. Lean into curiosity. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this, even if it's not comfortable? Here's another one. Stop waiting for perfect people. Newsflash, the perfect person with the perfect idea isn't coming. They're probably off somewhere making smoothies or writing poetry. The rest of us have to muddle through with each other's imperfect brilliance. If you wait for flawless people to show up, you'll be stuck in neutral for a long time. And here's the last one I can give you. Teach this mindset to your team. The next time you're in a meeting and someone dismisses an idea with, well, that won't work. Who even came up with that idea? Try redirecting the conversation. Say something like, okay, fair point, but what's the nugget of value here? And you get bonus points if you can say it without rolling your eyes. It's not easy. So here's the leadership takeaway. The real power of leadership isn't in finding perfect ideas from perfect people. It's in building a culture where people feel safe to throw out imperfect ideas, knowing they'll be heard. Leadership lives at the intersection of action and curiosity. It's about having the guts to say, this might not be perfect, but let's see where it takes us. So, the next time you see a post about Steve Jobs or anyone else for that matter, pause. Don't get caught up in whether the person is your cup of tea. Ask yourself, is the message relevant? Could it help me or my team grow? The answer is yes. It doesn't matter if the messenger is a tech genius with a difficult personality or your cousin Gary who still thinks cryptocurrency will save the world. That small shift in mindset might be the difference between staying stuck and leading yourself and your team toward real innovation. Okay, that's enough of that.